All right. I believe we are live. Yes. Right. Hello, everyone. Quite a dense schedule. I originally intended to start at 11 because I saw Andrew was doing a TikTok invasion and thought, well, okay, I'll start like 3 hours later. I think that's sufficient time. I don't like stepping into other people's stream time. But then I saw he had a debate at what would be 12 for me. And thought, well, that would be a hard stop. So I pushed it half an hour earlier. Hello, Redfish. Hello, Miller Forta. I was thinking, because Boz is critiquing me for not doing this yesterday, and I understand that, but multiple people were streaming yesterday, and as you can see, even right now, people are streaming who are in our community. So, if I have to step on some toes, I'd rather it be one than multiple. So, but happy to see Andrew is being so active lately. As I said, he's going to debate in like half an hour, 1.5 hours or so. So that's also good news. I was talking just the other, not sure of the previous stream or the one before that. I said I would like to see the Crucible do more debates like in days of yore, and I'm not going to complain that they're coming back. Yes, I'm going to bleed them dry. These 100,000+ accounts. Congratulations to Jay for hitting 150, if he hit 150. Yeah, working on a Sunday, yes. Oh, I broke it already by, in the boiler room, I had to keep the house warm. Still not cold enough to switch to pellets. I think next Monday I will have to do that. Once the maximum temperature drops beneath 15, that's a proper way to monopolizing the autosphere. Definitely. 12 viewers already. They'll regret, Andrew will regret all those jokes about Serbs that he has made over the years. I saw him respond to some woman who said that for some reason Serbs don't like Andrew, and so the Irish should be aware of it. And I thought, well, I'm a Serb, I quite like Andrew, and I have started a collab channel with an Irishman, so and he likes Andrew, so we are the proof of her ignorance. Hello, Dr. Crispy Johnson, one of the best mods in our sphere. Also an Irishman. I was talking to Baron Strawberry like the other day. Unfortunately, this Tuesday we can't do a collab stream. He won't be able to. But so being unable to, do one yesterday or on Friday, we will be doing one on the following Friday. So in 6 days. He's a busy man. And we talked about scammers because he gets scam calls. And it was imagine an Indian fellow saying he's from the National Security Agency. And so obviously the Baron's like, the National Security Agency. Right. Where are you from? We're from America. So late. Zdravo. Zdravo živo. Not only that, he said, so why are you calling me? I'm Irish. He says, no, he didn't say I'm Irish, actually. He said, well, why are you calling me? He says, well, we are also in charge of the UK. He says, but I'm from Ireland. He said, well, that's the same thing. So the Baron got recolonized by an Indian in favor of the crown. So we know who the loyalists are, the Irish or the Indians. That's my favorite thing. And I think he said, well, I hope you enjoy it in Paki, India, or whatever however he combined it. And the guy cussed him out. That's one of my favorite stories I've heard in months. We in Serbia are too poor and have too complex a language for anyone to bother learning it, to scam us. But I would love to be able to troll them. Oh yeah, that's true, D-Sims. You are being colonized by Indians, and it's not even like a cool colonization. At least the colonization of the India was cool. You know, they've had like proper uniforms, spoke poshly, etc., etc. You're just like a dumping ground, basically. So yeah. I only had one time that like a woman saying, "Oh, I look for husband," but the person was too dumb to properly troll, so I just gave up on it. Well, I hope you find what you're looking for, you know. But I just, you know, just walk them about and then start cussing out India. That's the plan I'd have. Right. So, first of all, chairs. Calling the bank is like calling an Indian scam center. Only now they're in the office in Dublin. Well, you know what? We're all going to start missing the Hebes. Oh, the days of the long noses will be like a what's the, not eudaimonia. I'm not looking for that word. Like an Atlantis, like a golden age. I'm starting off strong today, aren't I? So, right, which is a good intro for geopolitics. Today I'm going to mostly be talking about geopolitics, maybe something else, and we're having a hard stop at the start of the Crucible debate, where Andrew is debating a libertarian, I believe. Posh Clip's channel would be impossible. And it wouldn't last very long. I don't know if the algorithm is too lazy to search over my ranting. But the last stream got demonetized because of the Austrian song. And I thought, wow, like you just don't give up. Like, producing Hitler was not good enough for you. You're still... So no more, only Baroque and prior to Baroque from now on. Oh, a romantic period? Well, let's not get too recent about it. Bloody Austrians. May Allah destroy them. Wherever you have cheap call centers, India, Mexico, the same legit employee script leaks and is used to scam some are really convincing. I, like my bank in the last couple of weeks was saying how we can expect someone to represent themselves as like the bank. You know, they usually change something about the title, like if something is DOO, they remove it or they add it if it isn't there originally. And, I'm not stupid enough to fall for it, but I am legitimately concerned about older people and AI. The fact that they can call and pretend to be like their grandson or something. Oh, I need like $200. Could you wire it to me to this account or whatever? That is legitimately concerning to me. And who knows what these scammers do? As I said, we in Serbia are insulated by our poverty. Indian claiming to be Google. Google. Ukrainian pension scammers. I'm sure there are scams, but they tend to go for old people. There were, when my grandfather was alive, he would always troll the people who had, special offers for pensioners. Oh, you can buy a new mattress and you can pay it in like 36, payments or installments, whatever. And he would always just keep making up stories about, oh, my pension is so low, and then he just drop a random number. And he would talk about all the problems he has in life. Just troll them. My maternal grandfather was a proper troll. For his age, that mindset to have. But yeah, so those exist, but those I wouldn't know if that was a complete scam or like a half scam, a semi scam, if you will. But we don't get the foreigners because the language is legitimately prohibitively difficult to learn. Send me 3 goats to this account. My grandpa got your granddaughter got drunk and crashed while give us money call and fell for it and was barely convinced by my sister calling him and telling him she was fine. Christ. That's what I'm saying. Like the old people who are the people with money, they're going to get the most targeted. They're the most gullible and they're the most well-positioned to give away money. The scams are wild. I had a scammer claiming to be USPS, that they needed my address to deliver a package, and another claiming to be the tollway telling me I owed $57. Right, they're very creative. Not all of them are recolonizing Ireland in the name of Britain and in service of the NSA. Yeah, they're getting sophisticated. There is like natural selection does operate to a sufficient level that simply the ones that work remain, the ones that don't work collapse and change strategies. So yeah, great. I have to emphasize this. Elderly people think in 2 extremes when it comes to tech. They can fake anything or super gullible and believe scammers. Right. That's, in theory, they accept it. That it's everything is possible, a lot of them distrust like the moon landing for the same reason, they could fake everything. And then all of a sudden, fall for the most obvious things imaginable. But there you go. The BRICS countries are having a summit, and I imagine, where I'm going with this, like India presenting like an entire, course, a semester on scamming. It's 30% of the entire income of India. So BRICS summit, and everyone was like, "Oh God." Right. So, what prompted me to do this is that I watched university classes. Yes. They have a university class and you pay for it and you never get any lessons. And that's the lesson. That would be pretty meta of them, to be honest. It becomes one of those memes, when I'm in an X competition and my opponent is Y. When I'm in a misinformation competition and my opponent gave me the wrong address or something like that. So, as I was saying, what prompted me, I was watching David Wood, an apostate prophet, talk about whatever it was. It was something about Israel and Palestine. But then they go into this idea like, I always thought Russia was scary. Turns out they don't know what they're doing. They can't even defeat Ukraine. Something. And it struck me that basically everything is a Hollywood film level. Like everyone thinks in terms of like Saving Private Ryan, or at best, one of the Total Wars series games, Total Wars franchise. Like you go with an army, you face the other army, and you beat them, and all of a sudden you gain this territory. Like that's how it is, and then you get your choices and have to convert the population, etc., etc. It's basically what they think. Secondly, they are so unaware. I believe it's not just lying or denial. I think they just never read any criticism of Israel's performance in this conflict, not just with Gaza, but with Hezbollah, with Iran, and everything, because they always interpret any sort of, how shall we say, restraint as weakness, which makes diplomacy impossible, by the way. That's one of the problems that has led us to such an utterly constrained ability to resolve any of these issues. Because let's take the Iranian retaliatory strike against Israel. They say, "Oh, they only killed 2 people. Ha ha! They don't know what they." I should do the voices, how they impersonate the Dawa guys. Oh, ha ha! You have only killed 1 person, and he was a Palestinian. I saw that video, by the way. Like, Lord have mercy, that was just so shatteringly vile. I believe the fusillade landed on him, just cracked. He bounced off and dead. Like it crushed his entire body. But yeah. And then they talk about how the Iranians are weak, how their ballistics are pathetic, and how the defense systems of Israel were so much superior to anything the Iranians have to offer. And that's just nonsense. You have reports of them striking pretty important targets. And that was the point. The point was to establish the fact, like, listen, we can hurt you if we so chose. Chase, this is not the time for this. I was already criticized early on that I can't make a clips channel. I will happily do a stream on such a thing. Pseudo Sabbath, right? But I need to get back to my topic. So, what do you do as an Iranian? Like, as I talked about, Iran isn't particularly stable. Neither was Israel, by the way, prior to the war. It's the war that has galvanized the people around the government. If you remember, prior to the entire ordeal, there were massive demonstrations. Netanyahu was facing criminal charges of corruption and other things. He was trying to change the way the courts work in Israel. Some would say stacking the courts in his favor, etc. So it was pretty unstable, and he formed a coalition that is, by Israeli standards, pretty right-wing, a very hardcore religious and nationalist coalition, which is part of why he cannot be very flexible, because the others, like your Ben Gvirs, are not going to tolerate mercy or restraint. He has stabilized the coalition recently, but that's not the bigger point I'm trying to make. I'm just adding something for people to consider. But you see, you have this tiny country which is unstable, stabilized by the war, and you have this massive country, Iran is a pretty large nation, that is also unstable. So, which means neither of them can afford to make too many missteps. Iran, if people don't know, has got by Iranian standards, a pretty liberal president. And the president has to be approved by the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. So, which means that the government is aware, the government in that sense, the supreme government, is aware that they're losing the grip, which means if you're conceding that by allowing this person to be approved of and put in power, that you have to placate the more liberal, the less claro, I don't want to say clarofascistic, but like theocratic elements or anti-theocratic elements. But that means you are now only left to rely on the hardcore religious people, which means, again, you have no maneuverability. There's no latitude left for you. And because of that, you can't ignore things. You can't really absorb a lot of the provocations. You have to respond. So what do you do with the response? Like, do you target civilians in order to show that you are capable of responding? Well, no. If you just ignore it, you are inviting more provocations, and the provocations were substantial. Attacking an embassy, killing of Hania while he was in Tehran during the inauguration of a president. That's peak provocation. Outside of just trying to blow up the Kaaba or something. So now you have to respond. So what do you do in response? You show that your ballistics, like the first attack was just very slow rockets and drones, just to show you're serious. You're trying to save face. You're not trying to actually respond with force. The system, the defense system, the Iron Dome, is more than capable of dealing with that. But now, the second time it came around, it was not possible to be that weak. You have to inflict damage. So how much damage do you do? Do you do as much damage as you can? No, that will further escalation. If you do too little damage, you are proving your weakness again. So you have to be very, very direct, very precise, and very calculated in how you respond. So what do? They target military sites. They targeted the headquarters of Mossad, etc. And they were pretty successful at it. You have videos of projectiles landing. Right? We don't have to speculate. I mean, you have reporting from Israeli sources about where they struck. So it was a sufficient show of force to show the military leadership and the government, like, okay, we might be in trouble if they actually chose to attack us. That is why the response to Iran has been quite delayed. They were talking about targeting Iranian oil fields. That has been rejected because that would crash the world economy. Iran literally said the threat of it increased the price of a barrel by, I believe, 30 cents. The threat of it. Imagine the actual destruction of the actual oil fields. Secondly, Iran said that if that happens, they would close the Strait of Hormuz, which would massively increase the price of petrol around the world. So you will crash the world economy. And if you think there hasn't been much sympathy for Israel up to that point, imagine now that you're causing major economies to crash. Not even mention the smaller economies. They're done. So that's out of the question. And the second is targeting the nuclear sites. Like, they don't put them on a hill with a neon sign and with an arrow saying Iranian nuclear site in like Farsi, Hebrew, and English. Like, no, that's not going to happen. What's up with the Middle Easterners constantly threatening how dangerous they are without ever doing anything? Because they're also intertwined with different conflicts, different factions being allied with enemies of other factions, but then they have allies who are allies to them. It's incredibly messed up. It's a whole knot that if anyone did anything substantial, it would explode. Which is why you even had a rapprochement between Iran and Saudi Arabia, because things were getting very dangerous for everyone involved. But then this blew up, and now you see everyone is, the governments know they don't want to participate, but the populace is enraged. And then you don't know what to do. From the commentators I've listened to, like the King of Jordan is specifically in a very poor position. Because there are plenty of Palestinians in Jordan who are the most enraged about what's going on, but he knows he can't afford to start a war with Israel. That's not going to end well. Like, Israel, as small as it is very good at what it does. It hasn't got the manpower, which is a massive nerf for them, so they can't afford any level of attrition rate. That's what I'm saying. Where did the Serbian language come from? Well, from Proto-Slavic languages. It's an Indo-European language from the Slavic group of languages, and specifically the Southern Slavic languages. Or if you want an alternative theory, that's what I want to say, Folder, was granted to Adam and Eve by God. Whoops. So I haven't even scratched the surface of the topic, and it's already far more complex than I've heard. People who support Israel, even people I like on certain topics, like Apostolic Prophet and David Wood, like, they have no capacity for profundity in their analysis of this. It's just Israel are the good guys, Muslims are the bad guys, therefore the good guys are great and the bad guys suck. Like, that's not how it works. Unfortunately, you need to be very analytical. And just downplaying, underestimating the enemy is one of the worst things you can do. It's less of a mistake to overestimate your enemy. You might over-prepare, you might use up additional resources, but at least it won't be a failure that you were too unprepared and have a complete collapse of a front or whatever. Is that really their conclusion? Yeah, they think Israel is absolutely crushing it. Like it's very impressive, as I said. To give them their due, like, they've been able to eliminate basically the entire leadership of Hezbollah. They've killed Yahya Sinwar like a couple of days ago. That was not a planned one, but had some luck in that. But that does not amount to destroying like tens of thousands of fighting forces. Sure, you've caused a major disruption in the command structure, but we've seen when they try to go into Lebanon, doesn't really end well for them. And as I said, they can't afford casualties. Here's the second level that they ignore. The economy of Israel is about to reach, what was the term that's used? It's not trash, it's not rubbish, but the lowest bond rating that there is. So that's a problem. About 1 million people have left. And you have so many people conscripted that it's not operating well. Then you've got the disruptions of supply lines into Israel. That means you have a limited time to operate. Sure, the US will step in if the war ended tomorrow. The United States will jump in, the billionaires themselves, not even necessarily on the governmental level, and we'll start rebuilding, and that's it. But until that happens, you're suffering massively. It is a small country. That comes with very, very difficult, restraints to what you can do. The scope of your operations has to be very limited. On the other hand, we talked about retaliating against Iran. You can't just it's again not a video game. You can't, like in Command and Conquer Generals, like, okay, I build an airfield, I train the aeroplane units, I select them, and they attack this other point on the map, and they fly and come back. Like, yeah, no, no, you need to refuel. And in order to reach Iran from Israel, you're going to have to go over Syria and Iraq. Are you sure you want to go over Syria and Iraq? Most definitely not. So you have to have a way, and also you have to then protect the fuel resupply. Like, it's not like the Iranians are going to look at your resupply, tankers and whatnot, and just be like, oh, damn it. No, they're going to strike them. So now I have to defend that. And there's no guarantee with, I believe, Iran received the S-400 from the Russians, which is one of the best anti-aircraft systems around. Far from perfect, but they can't really afford to lose, especially pilots, well-trained pilots. The machinery can be replaced, the pilots cannot. And as we talked about, again, and has to be repeated every 3 minutes, as far as I'm concerned, it's a small country. I'm surprised Russia hasn't supplied more S-400s to all the Axis. Russia is not in the business of provoking war. Because, okay, let's say Russia says, okay, we're supplying an S-400 to Jordan. Well, that's not going to go well. First of all, they have to get the system there and start installing it. Secondly, Israel is not going to wait around. They're going to say, oh, well, we have to do it. I don't want to, but and there you go. And the Russians are aware of it. The US is really, really, like, the military of the US military, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, is getting very, very pissed at the government because they know they can't afford to do this. The US has lost surge capacity. That's horrible. Surge capacity means that you can act very decisively and quickly. But so much of its stockpile has been given away to Ukraine especially, but also to Israel, that they are short on supply. And then you've deindustrialized to the point where, like, Russia has all the resources it wants. So America is also extremely resource rich. That's not the point, but you've deindustrialized so much that how are you going to get into this hyper production of ordnances and machinery? You can't. It's outstanding to me that these two, who again I believe are quite intelligent, but they're so invested in this emotionally that they don't care. Like, you're not doing Israel a favor, but by chasing it into a pit. A rich Israeli buying up property in Cyprus. Yeah, I'm not shocked by that. I'm sure Turkey is thrilled with that. Why did Jesus know 7 Marys? I don't believe it's because Mary was a common name. You should. Miriam was the sister of Aaron and Moses. I don't see why that's strange to you. Nowadays we have a lot of names. It was like, why do you know 7 people called Robert? But I don't. Well, every Bob and Rob is a Robert. So, and they didn't have this eclectic collection of names. Hello, Liz. Also with women's names, not nearly as much of a choice, as much of a how should we call it, like a selection, like you would for men's names. We're talking about Judah in the 1st century, right? So, yeah. Is that wine straight from the bottle? Barra and I talked about you being recolonized by the NSA in favor of Britain. Congratulations. I had to share that story. Right. So where was I? I talked about the problems of responding. Israel is in a bind. They're just bombing Gaza and keep incurring more and more wrath and less sympathy. They can't really deal with Hezbollah. They can assassinate leaders, but if you don't know, a lot of northern Israel has been depopulated because it's in the strike range. So one of the ways that Hezbollah is putting pressure on Israel is by increasing the scope of their bombing targets, which forces them to then either depopulate an area or risk great civilian losses. And Israel is too small a country to brook that. But you can't just destroy an entire fighting force, which is more or less paramilitary, by just killing its leaders. It won't work. So, yeah, they're in a bind, but they can't really just stop it. Was Nasrallah really worth 85 bunker busters? Yeah. To someone who was in Israel's position, yes, because that's a massive propaganda win. And as I said, I don't like either side of this conflict, so maybe that's why I'm allowed to be so unbiased in my estimates. But also, it's not like things don't blow up and then spread around. If you don't know, I mentioned Turkey because Dr. Crispy brought up Cyprus. Turkey is doing very poorly economically. The lira is really just collapsing and has been for quite a while now. So if you think inflation where you are is bad, not as bad as it is in Turkey. They have popular pressure to do something about Israel, but and then you have Erdogan, who keeps blowing hot air but never doing anything. But there is always a chance that he would be forced to, whether he goes to the Litani River or whatever. But then again, Idlib is now a potential place where it's Bartholomew's fault. Yes, he's single-handedly destroying the lira, Turkish lira. Right, Idlib, I've heard speculations, I think, from Colonel McGregor, that maybe there will be a combined operation to clear out Idlib so that Turkey can return millions of Syrian refugees who are in Turkey, right? And people aren't too happy about it. If you don't know, you might have been told that Islam cures racism, much better than Christianity. And I said, I want you to fill up a room with Turks, Arabs, and Persians and tell them you're all the same. And, then we'll clean what's left of you up. But they don't like them there. There have been obviously problems, like with criminal activities, etc. Turkey already has a massive problem with the Kurds. So I'm just trying to point out to you how unstable everything is around there. And as I was asked, why do they keep just talking big? It's because it's the only way. They're barking dogs. They have to be. If anyone starts operating, that's a problem. But it's better to then pretend that you're doing something. That's mostly rhetorics, but it's not everyone blowing each other to smithereens. You're saying you don't like those who subjugated your people, those who killed Christ. Right. As a Serb, I my choice is just obvious. As a language artist, I appreciate you saying Erdogan's name right. Thank you. I learned it years ago that the G with that inverted circumflex is not pronounced. So Erdogan, Erdogan, if you will. That sounds like when Jimmy on South Park locked the Bloods and the Crips in the rec center overnight. Yeah, that's what would happen. I will never forget the meme. Oh, you think you're insulting a Turk by calling him Greek? Try, if you really want to hurt him, call him an Arab. Right. And then you've got tribal divisions in certain nations, ethnic divisions, sectarian divisions. Right? These countries, a lot of these countries are just stapled together very poorly. Call him Armenian. I still think Arabs, calling them Arabs would hurt more. Because they would say, oh, we defeated Armenians, even though they pretty much defeated the Arabs as well. It makes them feel inauthentic because they're Muslims and Islam came from the Arabs. So, right. Back to our discussion. So Turkey is unstable, Iran is unstable. Collapsing either one would definitely put the other into the dominant power in the region position, which is fairly difficult for either of them to deal with, because you would start having more unilateral coalitions. People who like Turkey but hate Iran, people who like Iran but hate Turkey, and then if one collapses, that all might encourage them to do something, etc., etc. So not a lot of options for any of them to act properly, which is why everyone is moving in these tiny, tiny steps. No one can just start going in strides. The repercussions, reverberations from any massive step cannot be calculated, and no one's stupid enough to do that. Israel often has no other choice. I think I was on Jim Bob's stream when I said, like, Israel is really, really relying on what's called chutzpah. Right? They have to, as a smaller nation surrounded by nations that aren't particularly fond of them, they have to rely on having the image of, we will strike you back much harder than you strike us. So keep that in mind. They constantly disobey restrictions, etc., because they need this reputation of being unhinged. If they lose it, then people will start, trying to put a stranglehold on them. I was surprised by some of the rhetoric used in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. Hatred for neighbors seems to run particularly deep in that area of the world. Well, yeah. It's an area that's been of extreme geopolitical importance. I will switch to that conflict after I finish talking about the Middle East. But then to not just say that, it's only the pro-Israeli groups or people that are unreasonable. Like, have you seen Twitter? Right? So many people who are anti-Israel are absolutely delusional as well. Like, how many times have they said, "Oh, now you've crossed the line, Netanyahu. Now you will see the power of Islam." And where is it? Like, the people who actually have to suffer the consequences are not the ones saying that. The commentariat, especially the Twitter commentariat, and then we talked about slop posting and confirmation bias, so it pays to get engagement to be as unhinged and as provocative in your statements as ever, and it helps boost morale and support abroad. But it's pointless. Like, no one is trying to eliminate Israel because they will have to pay a mortal price for it. A lot of them. Like, Iran might not be destroyed completely, but it will be absolutely crippled if it chose that course of actions. Right, and then they say, "Oh, look how like they destroy a Merkava tank or something." Oh, there you go. Where's that famous Merkava tank? Like, okay, that's a win for your side. I understand. Why are you blowing it up as if you decimated the Israeli supplies? Like, you haven't. The only thing that you have is buying time and going through attrition, which is what they're doing. It's insane. Nothing ever happens. Yeah. I'm glad I don't have Twitter. I'm pretty. My feed is pretty safe. I get a few people who annoy me, but it gives you an overview. Charles Hagee said it's okay though. Turkey against Iran because they have to support their Turkic brothers. Yeah, you're trying to start trouble yourselves. Yourself for the wars. So, if you're going to go against Israel, attrition is your only choice. And even then, you don't know how much more desperate they're going to grow, and in that desperation, take more drastic measures. And it's insane. Like, no one is happy with this, with the situation. And it goes on because no one can afford to escalate. They can't afford to back down. There was a story about how the US kept a back channel with Tehran and were convincing the Iranians to absorb a limited retaliatory attack by Israel in exchange for, I believe it was loosening some sanctions, etc. And then someone leaked that information, which then rendered the deal moot. Because now, if Iran absorbs an attack and doesn't retaliate, people are going to say, yeah, that's because the government is actually collaborating with the Israelis and the Americans, with the shaitans. Добрый вечер, дорогой Porsche. Добрый вечер или добрый вечер, as we say here. Hello, the study of stuff. I'm very fond of studying stuff as well. Please like the stream, yes. I would highly appreciate that. A bit of an intermission before we move on to Ukraine and Russia. I've told people I've actually had to start trying to get a license for a pharmacist, because I've seen this for quite a while now, but especially solidified when Shareholders United sent me a translation by ChatGPT of a Swedish article by an Orthodox scholar there, and the translation was excellent, not just grammatically, but technically, style was very good, so it conveyed the meaning well, and so translation work isn't going to be around very long. Sorry. So I have to get to do something that is that can land you a job. I still can't afford to do this full time, so I'm actually nerding out on pharmacology. I decided social science nerdery wasn't enough for me, and what was it? I passed 5 exams so far out of 24. And when I was studying, like preparing for anatomy exams, I thought, this is the first time my Latin has been properly useful. by not just, not Dr. Portia's Antoinette, it's not on that level. I may continue after that, but I need the basic license. But that's literally the first way, because, and as I was learning, you start learning your bones and muscles and stuff and organs, and I was so grateful for my Latin and for my Greek. Yeah, I just added it for the wars, because a lot of the terms are going to be Greek, but then a lot of terms are going to be Latinized Greek words, so that helps as well. And I was genuinely happy. I couldn't imagine not being able to read Latin and having to then pronounce, I don't know, phalanges digitorum manus, ossa transcarpalia, etc., etc. So if you had to learn to pronounce it, and then in addition to that you have to learn what it was, that would have been a major hiccup, but I could just go through it. So, you see, being a nerd pays off in the end. Yeah, I'll be in a lab coat, so you all know that when I start talking about science, you can trust me. Ooh. If you'd like to help me with the finances of that, the best thing to do is PayPal. I still keep wanting to say PayPal. So you've got the PayPal in the description. It would help a lot. I'm by no means in some dire situation, but it would definitely help out if you can afford it. But I want to make sure I'm saying this. I am not in any fiscal danger. I don't want people to think they have to. Are we advocating for Japanese? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But actually, I like being a nerd, like school type nerd. again, it's well and good when you and I study basically all the time. I love reading and listening to things, but when it's like a project, the way it was back in university and stuff, that's fun. I was not very popular in high school. No, just kidding. I've always been more of a Chad nerd and an alcoholic, so people appreciate that. What is the maximum amount of sheep that can be donated, and how can we ship quarter sheep? That's a good one. You can. The wool is obviously the best one to go for. Actually, it wouldn't be. It's rather voluminous and not as expensive as meat. But then again, you don't have to refrigerate it. Yeah, sorry, I can't. I already have to study for. It will be 2 types of nerds. If I have to go into like 4 more types, that's just going to fall apart, and I'll just become a schizo. Yes. Cigarettes, beer, and goat milk. Yeah, people are going to be thrilled. The beautiful mind drinking problem. Yeah. People hear me talk and just think, yeah, that's a beautiful mind right there. Okay, so back to our topic. The other thing that I heard and actually stuck around with me more because I listened to them cover that part. I listened to other people who cover the anti-Israel part as well. So I don't feel like I will have this tactical skepticism. And when the IDF or Netanyahu say something, I trust it. If then, I don't know, whatever source says, something against Israel, oh no, then all of a sudden I need like a forensic report. No. I'm not silly. I'm not gullible. I do not suffer from such diseases or maladies. But then he says, David Wood specifically said, Russia showed itself to be weak. And I'm thinking, like, you know nothing about the war, apparently, other than Ukraine isn't conquered by Russia. And then, obviously, you get the entire Western world and Western media is pro-Ukraine, because both the neocons and the neolibs have a good excuse to hate Russia. The neocons, the traditional one, and the ex-Trots, so the original one, at least. So it's a pretty Trotskyistic way of thinking, this global revolution. Off topic, are plasma biscuits as good as people praise? I'm a horrible person to ask about sweets. I've had them, obviously, as a child, and I quite like them. So if you like biscuits, yes. If you don't like biscuits, then no. I mostly remember them as a child eating them with tea, sweetened by honey. So I've fond memories. I just grew out of eating sweets. With Eurocream, yes. All right. John B. quoting the Democratic nominee for the president. I know that Ukraine is a smaller country, and Russia is a bigger country. I still hate the fact that I can do a half-decent Kamala Harris, although I don't drink like half as much as she does, obviously. Right. So, people, again, get their idea of tactics either from reading about the result and then appraise the result based on films. She actually added that, and Russia attacked Ukraine, which is basically wrong. So that's literally a quote. You can look it up. It must be depressing to be a neolib right now. But I know Dr. Crispy hates her because she cooed Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is Irish, so he's like, "Oh, solidarity, brother." Right, very astute of her. I was not aware myself until I heard it. Okay, we've got half an hour more until the crucible starts, the debate. She's Irish too. Yeah, she actually is part Irish, I believe. At least that's what I've heard. So I don't listen to Candace Owens. I couldn't care less. But right. So how the Ukraine war went. Let's even not ignore. It's half an hour, so I can't go into the what preceded it. Basically, what Russia did in the beginning was send a small, fast force that got to Kiev to try to show we're really serious about this. Let's negotiate. But that didn't end well, so the invasion started. And then the problem being that this is the first war that's been fought with properly modern militaries, modern equipment, modern capabilities. Russia, obviously, with more manpower and a domestic supply of weapons, which are pretty advanced. I will even ignore like all those. Do you remember the Ghost of Kiev? Oh, this pilot who just downed 5,000 Russian aircraft in one go. It was, if you follow the media in the first couple of months of the war, you'd have thought like Ukrainians are preparing to lay siege to Vladivostok, let alone Moscow. Samuel Raidenko was the legendary Ghost of Kiev, right? But here's the thing. The congressman that tweeted Sam IDS. It was already funny because every time something like this happens, Sam Hyde pops up. But to have it retweeted by a U.S. senator, I think it was a senator, Blue Skittle, Skittel, but I might be wrong. It might have been a congressman. Ghost of Kiev, John B. If you say that name, it has to be Kiev. It's such an effective programming method that now even people like I like to watch Judge Napolitano and a few of his guests. He started saying Kiev, so even people who are more pro-Russian have adopted it. so this linguistic programming is very effective. But the thing was, Ukraine had to focus on visible successes. Russia could operate much more, not just on a strategy level, but on a tactical level. It continued to operate on the basis of we spare manpower in favor of territory. So when there was that initial Ukrainian counteroffensive, you saw them take so much territory back. Why? Well, because the Russians dig in, their artillery systems, they've had air power superiority. Now they have air power, the only ones who do. They put themselves in a position that when they're pulling out troops from a territory, the pursuing Ukrainians would be targeted. But Ukraine had to do that, even knowing that it's not the best thing to do, because they need to show evidence of success. Now that the West is so deep in, it's difficult for anyone to stop. Right? Germany had to stop. I believe they stopped supplying, or it's heavily intimated that they will soon. But basically, it's been a disaster. But exactly for the reasons they had to put territory over soldiers is why they lost a lot of soldiers. They lost machinery, equipment, and the Russians could operate tactically. So yes, it seemed like Ukraine was doing excellently at that point. But the Russians spared their manpower and equipment and attacked these guys. So when they come back in, they're now stronger. They've been destroying Ukrainian supply lines. Russia's really like what's called the cauldron tactic, where you start to encircle a position or a settlement, right? You leave one place open, but you've placed your artillery in a place where, as you have that avenue open, that's an ancient thing, even Sun Tzu said that you must always leave your opponent a way out, because if they know they can't escape, they will fight to the end, because that's the only thing. Like, die a coward or die a hero. That's the choice, and they will prefer to die a hero. But if they know that they can escape, there will always be this sense of doubt in their mind and keep them from this, final push further. Right. But as they retreat, they get pounded, or they're pounded while they're inside the city. They can't get resupplied. It's outstanding that this carnage. I'm not happy about the death of Ukrainians. I'm happy about the death of the Azerbaijanis. They can rot in hell, but not the regular Ukrainians. Why would I be? I'm a Slav myself. So it's just been grinding down. Because again, Ukrainians, they have to go retake Mariupol or wherever. And by the way, the moment again you have a small victory for Ukrainians, that's blown up. The moment they lose, that's not talked about. So on the propaganda war, they have a massive advantage, but that doesn't mean anything, because wars are in large part propaganda, but a much, much, much larger part are what's happening in the field. What are Hungarians again? They're basically Huns mixed with Slavs. Let me read a couple of chats. My grandpa was Ukrainian and he said Kiev. Well, I know what they're saying. So in Ukrainian, it's supposed to say Kiev, and the Russians would say Kiev. Right, so it's clearer in Russian, the distinction, but they had to impose this audible change in order to create a way of showing loyalty to the cause. Because now if you say Kiev, you're a dirty pro-Putin propagandist and traitor, and if you say Kyiv, you're a good person. Ukraine couldn't even break the zero line of defense. But no, because they couldn't afford to act properly, because they were all so completely reliant on Western supplies. So you need the propaganda wins, because how are those people back home supposed to justify supporting it if you have no material changes on the ground? Do you think the DPRK in Russia thing is actually true? I believe in maybe an engineering capacity, an observing capacity. You bring some about soldiers. Like, no, Russia would gain nothing if they have plenty of manpower. Like, Belgrade is full of the metropolitan, like, gay Russians who fled Russia early on. The ones who are left back are properly. The Russian population is very pro this war, just like the Israeli population is very pro-war and are actually pretty radical. The critiques Putin receives isn't that he's some mad colonizer, it's that he's too restrained. Same with Netanyahu. Like, if you check polling data, it shows you that Israelis are willing to accept very, very drastic measures against these people. So yeah, Ukraine doesn't exist anymore. It's a proxy state for the West. I don't know what's going to happen. Like the Russians have been escalating the attacks on power supplies, power production. So as winter approaches, things will not be going well. I mean, it's just going to get worse. I'm honestly heartbroken over what's going on, and it won't stop until the election. I think whoever wins, they're going to pull back from it, but they can't pull back until the election is over, because the Democrats cannot afford to be weak on it, because they'll show themselves fools. They've already accrued all of these madmen and women and whatever else that they've fanaticized them into both being pro-Ukrainian and anti-Russian. Those are two different things. And both operated, so now the fervor is going to cost them if they show restraint, similar to what we talked in the first part of this stream. And it is costing a lot of lives. Trump said, I listened to him on Patrick Bet David podcast, and he said he will be able to fix it while being president-elect. So prior to even being inaugurated, he's going to solve it, allegedly. Liz Antoinette says, my father is Hungarian. Antoinette is, I'm going to assume, a pseudonym then. I can read Hungarian. I can say just a couple of phrases, but I wouldn't notice a Hungarian word. Trust me. But that's fun. Do you like put like cream spread and then on bread and then put like a hot sausage on it and then think that's a good combo? Because I've heard horror stories that for some reason they mix these things in Hungary that I can't even conceive of. Like that I heard from a girlfriend I had years and years ago who was half Hungarian, and then had family visit over. Like cream spread and like a spicy sausage. That's something I would use to torture inmates. It's like they have to manufacture Ukrainian plans as if it is an MCU timeline to hype up the NPCs and Warhawks. Yeah, you have to keep doing it. I think Trump will win. That's why I disagree with Andrew. I think they have to let him in. The US has already decommissioned quite a few Navy pieces because they have a lack of recruits. They lack manpower. The recruiting goals are met by being diminished. The expectations are diminished. And then they say, well, that's what we wanted in the first place. They've reduced physical preparation or ability, psychological, intellectual. It's honestly, they're scrambling. And I don't think the American system can afford, by system I mean like the elites and stuff, can't afford 4 more years of demoralization. They just can't. They need a Trump to put some re-inject some vigor into it. And then if he pulls back the war machine a bit, people might get a bit more hopeful and start joining. Because what else are you going to do? It's been a complete disaster. That's why I think they have to let him in. There's no way to survive, to let the war machine survive in the long run, and not a particularly long run with what's going on. We don't need North Koreans for now. Yeah, Yeah, you can teach the generals, but they will have the engineering corps from North Korea. It's a bad look to have a foreign army present in the war, because people are already saying it, like the neocon outlets are already saying, oh, you see how desperate they are. They're bringing in North Koreans. Like, that's exactly why you don't bring in an army, and they have plenty of manpower to deal with this. So I believe it's true in the sense that there are North Koreans there, but you have all sorts of like foreign observers. They're trying to learn how modern warfare works nowadays. And as I said, this is the first properly modern warfare, because America has spent like the last 2 decades just obliterating countries that can barely defend themselves. So it's a modern warfare in the sense of the timeline, but not in the sense of both having capacity to deal with this. Ukraine 2030 Digital Utopia Agenda for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Okay, that's Crispy Johnson showing you a link that you can follow to watch that. No sausages ever. Goulash is great. Yes. Let them eat goulash. That's a good one. Yeah, like the American army is pretty demoralized right now. The populace is as well. Like, they've gone into woke mode. Like, they've been humiliating their own army, because the elites produced a managerial class that is woke. And now are they surprised that the woke are destroying the army? No. I don't know what's happening. You could make an argument that they're trying to destroy the US for good. I don't see that happening, at least not very soon. You've heard that a lot of illegals were let in. Managerial class. No, Vlad, that's more the elite class. Or at least the upper echelons of the managerial class. I've heard American politicians propose the idea, oh, we can grant them citizenship in exchange for service, military service. Hey, you can die for the US. Trump would make the perfect pressure valve, but I wonder if the US deep state is far too insane to even have an exit plan. Yeah, that's also a possibility. I just don't think that that they are very insane. I think they're much more competent than they let on, at least. So I believe they care for self-preservation, if nothing else. But perhaps they put themselves into a position where they're damned if you do, they do, and damned if they don't. And I think even letting Trump in and dealing with the consequences of that would be preferable to just complete collapse of the military presence of the US, which is the military arm of the elites. Bosch, why don't you stream more? I've been studying recently, as I said, for the school to get my license to be a pharmacist. But now I've opened up some time and can stream. So yeah, I'll probably be streaming in the next couple of days, because I'm trying to gather some funds, as I said, on PayPal. I've got an opportunity to send it over to a friend who will bring it over to me, because that means it won't enter the Serbian financial system. Because technically PayPal isn't a part of the financial system in Serbia. You have to pull it to a bank account in Serbia in order for it to count as income. So that's why I said it would really help out right now. But yeah, as I said, I've opened up some time before my next exams, and I'm studying fairly regularly, so it won't be a problem that I have to, binge my lessons 3 days before I go to the exams. Right. Also, most American elites have private jets and out of the country homes to retreat to if it goes belly up. Yes, but they lose the support system. Right. The elites don't want. There will be a time where they can afford like a collapse in order to introduce something else. But that's not that easy, and they need to have their tentacles. And if society collapses and the military capabilities are reduced so drastically, they start losing grip. PayPal. That's a real joke because in Serbian you would say PayPal. And when I first said it on a Jim Bob stream, I said PayPal. I didn't say Paul specifically, but I said PayPal. And that's why my email for it is Posh PayPal. So it was a phonetic mistake on my end. Right. So this was also a test one to see if people like the geopolitics. I have a lot to talk about in those regards. So it's a great source of topics for me, and I actually am very, as I find it interesting, I'm happy to engage with it more. So let me know how you think it went. As far as this stream, we're getting close to 10 minutes to the debate. So I'll be closing up. Let's see if something has changed. Crucible is, oh yeah, the Crucible is still live. Right. Yep, and that should be in 10 minutes. But the Crucible is still live on the TikTok invasion. I'm not misreading this, Dr. Crispy Johnson. Yes, I'm going to. Well, again, I keep forgetting to do the preparation for it. But yeah, I'm sending you over. Who's debating? I'll read it for you. Andrew versus Wreck It Raff. That's supposed to be Wreck It Raff, as in Raphael or something. I'm going to be so annoyed for these last 10 minutes. Are Republicans or Democrats better for the US? Okay, so I mistook it for some libertarian thing. Sorry about that. So that's. Did Baron show you how to raid? He gave me some general instructions. Andrew's a whatever guest, not a debater. No, he is a debater. I've heard him debate. He's hosted me to debate. So sure, he actually he doesn't just go into the whatever is, I wouldn't even call it a den of the beast. It's just like entering a brothel, I suppose, when you go to their studios. But he has debated serious topics with serious people. He was a debater. That's what you mean. Ex-debater now. He now looks for simps. No, don't be unnecessarily condemnatory. He is actually engaging somewhere where it's necessary to engage. Because if you have no pushback on a particular topic, it will fester. The wound will fester. And it has been festering for quite a while, and the boil will burst, and by which I mean mostly den of skanks, mostly mean like the population issues. So men watch. Yes, men watch that. It's mostly men, but you're trying to create someone who's capable of dealing with the paradigm. If the paradigm is, oh, women are just mistreated and they're so nice, and you have no response to that, you're just going to keep your head down and be quiet, and they will keep racking W's. And as I said, I can't even watch Andrew be there because I have to listen to those women and I just want to end my existence. So yeah, I don't know how he does it, but there's nothing. No one can go there. If I went there, I just, people will be collecting me from the local tree, noose over neck and all. So yeah, Andrew's work in the den of skanks is needed, but I can't watch it. Yeah, I'm in the same position, Michael Fortino. I watched one or two entire things, and the rest I can watch clips, and there's plenty of clips. I don't think it's money. Friendly Ghost, he is a streamer, so he wants to expand the watch base, but you can do that for anything. Say that for anything. Bosch is misogynist, obviously. Have you seen me? Have you listened to me? Me and my best friend, Pearl Davis. I'm so misogynist. Okay, let's not do it like last time where I got the stream demonetized the last 5 minutes of it. Men watch looking for OnlyFans girls, then get the coon worldview smashed by Andrew. Yeah, that's also a legitimate take to have. I can't believe these disgusting creatures, they're looking through the description for handles. But then Andrew has both the ability to debate and is entertaining enough to make it, digestible, which is a talent I lack. If I went there, like, people would watch a debate and just be depressed because I couldn't. I don't know if I could even make a joke. I'd just be, dishing out red pills by the handful. See, I'm already a pharmacist. Thousands of men watching OnlyFans. You've come to the wrong channel if you're trying to tell me not to criticize men. That's one of my things. I don't think it's just the women who are the problem. Men are very much enabling. The Serbian face of American misogyny. I don't think you have my capabilities yet. So, as I was saying last time, the Austrians did me in, and I repeat, may Allah destroy them. So from now on, it's only Baroque on this channel. So let's try if I can play something without a warm-up. Johnny Posh. And my voice has been really strained all day, so best not to sing. Why they do that? Okay, sorry, I need to just do this. Sorry. No, I can't do this without a warm-up. I'll do something else. Sorry. Nope, can't do this right now. I'm going to have to play something simpler right now. I can't do Baroque without warm-up. The guitar is my secondary instrument, so I'm sorry. I'm a piano guy. I'm just trying to do my best until I can have a keyboard. There we go. My hubby plays a classical guitar too. That's excellent, Melaforta. I've actually found the experience when I lost my keyboard. I've actually found the experience of learning Baroque on guitar quite. Know any Van Halen? No, I don't. I'm not sure I even know a song from Van Halen. Freebird. Okay, so I'll play something simpler. Next time I'll warm up and then play at the beginning of the stream, which is much better. I won't even read the comment out loud. you even hear this? Yeah. Not the best of performances. Gypsy jazz, you do not mention that cursed thing. Someone heard jazz and thought, hey, we can make this worse. Thank you, Chaz. Sorry for being unprepared, but I saw like the head of the guitar in the corner and thought, hey, let's do this. Is the Crucible starting? All right. Darn it. No, it's still the TikTok invasion. Oof. Crucible link, yes. So apparently the TikTok thing is still live, but I'm sure they're going to start soon. So when they go live on the debate, I'll be closing this one out, etc. Because as we know, I've realized that sending someone to a place where they have to wait 10 minutes isn't going to work, because 10 minutes is a lot of time to start watching something else. That was a French song, actually. What was called something like a collection of these short pieces called Récréation de guitariste, something like that, from like the 19th century. So I don't know, maybe this gets demonetized. Okay, so this is the Crucible debate link. Yes. Yep, still upcoming. We give up by France Uli? What sort of a surname is that? Like, it's France, so the person should be German or Austrian, or I guess Swiss. But that surname, okay, it could be Swiss, like Uli. Yeah. If it's Swiss, you've got the French-speaking cantons. Andrew likes debating so much he's overlapping debates. His own debates. I made it up. This is what keeps Posh up at night. Trying to give me like a schizophrenic break, which I don't particularly appreciate, but so people, you can start moving on over there. I'm just hoping they start soon, because I can't start anything else right now. But Dr. Crispy Johnson is the person with the info over here. It's so strange, this isn't a classic guitar, this is an acoustic guitar, you see. So these things are so close together, which is what really annoys me. Like a classic guitar, the neck is going to be wider, more spaced out, so you know what you're doing. This thing makes me bend my phalanges, my phalanges digitorum manus, so much that it causes me sometimes even cramps. So. Okay, stream just ended over there. Nice. So again, thank you everyone for being here. It will be Baron and the Redneck will probably be on Friday, Dr. Crispy. That's why I like the boss the bass lots of room. Yeah, I understand, but I really like these baroque songs, and I appreciate the bass, but I could never get fully into it. And I still, again, I'm a piano guy. Not, I have to say piano guy, not piano man, because maybe Billy Joel is Austrian. So we hate Austria from now on, just to be clear. So thank you everyone for being here. Please go on over to the Crucible for the debate. It's bound to start very soon if the previous stream is over. As I said, you can support via PayPal. The link is in the description. And I promise it will go to books and not like paying for classes and stuff, and not for drinking. Don't make me choose between the two. Okay. Again, thank you for being here. God bless, and I'll definitely catch at least a part of the debate because it starts so early on for me, like midnight. Usually they start at 3. This is the link by Dr. Chris P. Johnson. Tell them Posh sent you in a non-threatening manner. And I'll see you probably tomorrow. I'll see what I can do. God bless you. Thank you, and goodbye.